Howdy there, everybody. It's Glenn with the almost world famous Cactus Atlas, hanging out in front of Perry Lodge here in Kanab, Utah, to start off an amazing adventure that I have planned, and I want to take you with me. But I figured I got here, I drove all the way up from Phoenix and got here late this afternoon, ate some dinner, and I'm just prepping for tomorrow. But I just wanted to share a little bit of this place, and at night it's charming, and I'm glad I'm roaming around. And I think downtown Kanab is right there. I'm really not the most knowledgeable guy when it comes to cars, but this would appear to be a Chevrolet, just like my good buddy Slim, my pickup truck. But I am embarrassed to say is I worked for General Motors, but I do not know exactly what model that is, but I love it. I'll show you the grounds here. It's a really large motel. I think they do have a unit over there where there are rooms like in a more traditional hotel fashion, but most of them you pull your vehicle right up to the room, and Slim is right over there. I don't want to disturb people, but the thing with this hotel is a lot of movie stars have stayed here, and this as Kanab is known as kind of Little Hollywood, as there are a lot of old westerns filmed in this area. A lot of history, Hollywood history here, and you'll see names above each little suite denoting someone who stayed in there. So for example, there's a name a couple doors down from mine that I know very well, and I'll show you, but we have to be kind of quiet. Room 135 is the Don Knotts room. All right, so the Fred McMurray room, and we'll give you a quick view of this place. It's very clean here, and I love places that don't have carpet because they usually don't have a stink with them, but this place does have age to it. You can kind of tell in the doors, usually they're heavier and a different style, and you know, it's certainly been renovated. The floor is not original, but these have been around for quite a long time. Now you got to see a little bit of the premises at night, and in the morning it'll probably look better. So good night, see you in the morning, and get ready because we got a lot to do. All right, good morning here in Kanab, Utah. The sun has come up as expected. All right, why don't we do a quick walk around here as I go to seek out breakfast, which started 2 minutes ago. I'm in Utah on Mountain Time, and the sun rises close to the 7 o'clock hour around these parts. Just want to look at some of the names on the doors here. Sammy Davis Jr., and I want to see which room I was in. It's been bugging me all night. A lot of names I don't know. Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, and I was down here next to the Zane Grey room, I think. Was it James? No, it was Ronald Reagan. So James Garner, who I know, and then Ronald Reagan, room 125. I believe that's where I stayed next to the Zane Grey room. So room 125, cool. So I guess I owe you a little bit of history about the lodge, and it's right here in front of us. There's tons of signs here, but the basics are, this originally started in the 1800s as a Mormon settlement, which is common here in southern Utah. And then the main house was converted into this motel complex that you see today. And then Wikipedia says a lot of this was built in the 1930s, which also feels the time for this place and makes sense with all the little Hollywood history here. All right, let's go in here and check out the lodge inside the main office and see about the 7 a.m. breakfast. There's nobody lingering around here, which makes me wonder. Usually people are here fighting over stuff at this time. Well, I just had breakfast, some biscuits and gravy, some scrambled eggs and hash browns, and it was pretty good. But the only catch is it's not complimentary if you stay here. I didn't really realize that, but that's okay because I guess you get a discount. $8, so cheaper than McDonald's probably, and better. Anyway, we have a world to explore, and I feel we did pretty good here at this motel. So I think it's time to head off into the wild red yonder. All right, here is the big Perry Lodge sign that lit up this whole street at night last night. That was wild. And now we're driving further and further away from Arizona, where I will be spending now a week or so camping in very cold conditions, boy. Oh, it's gonna be cold. Not tonight, I don't think, or the next night I can handle it, but once I get to Bryce, it should be in the low 20s one night if the weather is accurate. You get some nice early morning Kanab, very quiet, sleepy little town. It's almost 8, it's 7:40 a.m. and this town is just waking up because of mountain time, and the sunrise, because of the time change, comes up a little later than what I'm used to. Well, there's the little Hollywood museum I want to go check out. It doesn't open till 9, so unfortunately no time for that one either, but I always like leaving little things to come back and check out, and staying at the Perry Lodge and visiting the little Hollywood museum would be a great pairing, I would think. Because a lot of the stuff there, a lot of the people that worked on the productions you get to learn about there likely stayed at the Perry Lodge, as you saw. Right, so the agenda today is I'm making my way to this place called the Escalante Petrified Forest State Park, a Utah state park where I have a camping reservation tonight and tomorrow night. Then I'm going to be switching it up and driving towards Bryce Canyon and staying there for 3 nights inside the national park and exploring things in the area, including some off-roading, like off-pavement driving, some things that I've scoped out and look forward to checking out. So, but today we're just making our way to it, and I'm stopping at several quick stops that I've always wanted to check out on this route, and just always, for sake of time, just don't ever get to them. I know you can see these sand caves from the road, and this parking lot's right here, and this is private property. So my guess is there's a trail that takes us and winds around there and up. We're gonna try that. You can see the sandstone here, which this area is famous for. And sand caves are bored into that stuff. Oh, check it out, what do you know? There are a couple caves right there. That might be where we're going, in fact. It's right up in there. I'm looking for people. I might be the only one by the time I get there. Ah, yes, you can see there's a couple people up there. The question is, how the heck do we get up there? I'm just following the trail. It hasn't let me down yet. We gotta get way up there, man. Wow. Whew. Yeah, we did it. The Kanab Sand Caves. I don't know if they have a more official name just than Sand Caves, but that's what they show up like on maps. So, Sand Caves. Oh, Sand Caves. You look cool, man. I'm guessing this all formed because of wind, not mining. Whoa, these are pretty extensive. How cool. Look at that. Wow, impressive. And sandy, just as advertised. Wow, this is awesome. Why did I not do this earlier? Huh? Are you kidding me? I didn't know it went back further. Let's see if my camera can see back here, because I can't. My eyes are starting to adjust. There we go. I've got some light here, but I'm gonna guess it ends. I think I see a wall. I can't see jack diddly squat. But because there's no light coming through here, I have to imagine this is the end of the line, and that's the dead end right there that my camera sees. There were two little holes looking out onto the trail. You can see the trail right down there below. That's a sheer drop off right below me here. And there's the route we're gonna be taking. We're gonna be going the same direction that guy's going. One thing I don't think I was thinking I would see were all these beautiful stripes in the sandstone. Amazing. And unfortunately, tons of graffiti where people have chipped their names into the wall, like Doug in 1996. Doug, nobody cares, to be honest. Nobody cares. And then tell me how in the grand scheme of things, any of this is any different than cool etchings from people in the 1800s. You can't, it's hard, you have to draw the line somewhere. I wish nobody did anything, but I have to admit I do like the historic graffiti, so this is baking. Let's go back out towards the front, and we'll think about making our way down the road to continue. All right, we'll get you one last look here at the sand caves from down here. Another couple just arrived as I was leaving. Perfect timing, huh? Alrighty, back on the road, folks, back on the road.
Turn right onto US 89 North.
US 89 North. Yes, ma'am. We did it. And we finally saw those sand caves and we got our souvenir.
US 89 North for 11 miles.
All right, we got about 11 miles or so to go to our next stop. So if you like that, I think you're gonna love the next stop. Something really weird and odd and cool and I think sandstony and certainly in a dark spot will be your hint. Some of you already know what I'm up to. And it's not the Moki Cave, because I don't think that's open yet. Alright, I think I remember now, and I'm starting to understand where I'm going. We are less than a mile away. We're going to be turning left, I think, and driving down into this gully to get to this thing. It's called the Belly of the Dragon, if I haven't already said so. and it'll make sense when you see it. I can't think of a better name to describe this thing. I don't think we have to hike to get to it.
Turn
I think it's like right
then.
here.
Your destination will be on the left.
I have never seen this, by the way. This is also a first. And I see the entrance to I see the hole. It's basically a tunnel that somebody bored into the rock here. And I'm going to assume, due to natural processes in erosion, formed this really odd tunnel that looks like you're inside the throat of some giant creature. Belly of the Dragon. That's where it got its name. And it's right there. So let's go check this out. I think poor Slim is a little bored this morning because none of these things are fun for him. Don't worry, Slim, I got a couple things planned for you. But today, just take it easy. We'll do all the work. Thought this would be, actually there's a way to get in here. So basically you can see it does seem like some kind of drainage. Some concrete here emptying out into this wash, and it even continues through that little tunnel over there. Oh my goodness, I'm here at the belly of the dragon. This bored hole through sandstone. And I do see daylight on the other side, and it does appear that I'm alone in the belly of the dragon. So do you guys see why they call it that? The further you go back, the lighting gets so weird in here. It gets easier to see the further you go back instead of darker, which is quite strange. This is amazing. So yeah, my understanding is this is man-made, not natural, but I just wonder why it has those ridges on the edges like that, if it's from some kind of wind erosion after this was made. This is all sandstone. I always forget because we have the wonderful Amy doing editing. She can always put information about who built this and when and all that, and I'm sure she's already on that, right? She's always awesome like that. But yeah, I wish I remembered now that I'm here. I just kind of just marked it as another waypoint on a trip and forgot all of the little bit of history to this. I don't think it's that terribly old, but certainly 1900s would be my best guess. And once again, I don't know if it was a farmer or why they had to create this drainage here, but they did. Something that pictures and other people's videos didn't convey for me is just how high the ceiling is in here. I thought it was gonna be a lot more cramped quarters, but it's not. That is a pretty tall ceiling. I don't know, let me guess. I'm 6'2". It's probably 3 to 4 of my height, so I'm gonna guess somewhere between like 18 and 24 feet tall. I at least have to thread this needle, go all the way through. That'd be improper not to. It's like we went in its mouth, and now we're exiting the other end. We went through the belly of the dragon, and we disagreed with it. I almost prefer facing the other way because the light is so bright going this way, you can't really see the interesting shapes of this thing. The throat of the dragon. Looks like we're heading towards the light, children. Head towards the light. Doesn't it look like something from like a horror movie? Like we're walking towards the light and we're down some tunnel underground where all the devils live. Yes, the devils. Pretty short. I mean, there's not much to it really, but it's cool. It is unique and different. If you want to escape the heat, it is nice and chilly in here. All right, the belly of the dragon. I don't think there's too much to analyze in this one. Pretty straightforward, but it fits in our theme today, sandstone caves and tunnels. Although that's gonna be the last darkness for the day. The next thing I wanna do should be in actually there is a cave involved, but not a cave like you might think. Actually, there's a theme. Didn't even realize that. All right, we made it out in one piece. Hooray, hurrah. So happy I did that finally. Been waiting a long time to check that out. So many missed trips because of bad timing, so I had to finally devote a trip to it, or to fit it in. What I thought I'd do from here is I'll just drive us through this really scenic road 89 to our turnoff, which then gets even more scenic. So we're going to just enjoy a big segment of the drive. I think we got about an hour to go to our next location, a very short hike to something with cave in the title once again. Isn't that funny? The Mossy Cave is what it's called at Bryce Canyon. Not in the main part of the park where all the lookouts are, but there's a road that wraps around and goes to this town called Tropic. And it's like on this other side. So we'll find out. We've got an hour and 2 minutes to get there, according to Google. Sometimes I know I'm getting older and wiser and more patient because I'm now the one that, I used to be the one that rushes, and I just needed to get to where I needed to go as quickly as possible for no reason. And now I like to slow down and take in the views. I just love the driving part. I think the segments driving between places are slowly becoming my favorite, especially when you add in all of the strange little roadside things you can find in this life, like the belly of the dragon and the sand caves. We're in Kane County. Every time I hear the word Kane, I think of Poltergeist, because that's the name of the really scary old man priest guy. Whenever I'm in Utah, I think of Reverend Kane. I don't know if he was actually a reverend, but I know he's referred to as that, the character. Kind of a strange thing to think about when you're in a beautiful landscape like this. I am interested in getting to my campground in the afternoon today and leaving plenty of time there because I got a new tent. Maybe now's a good time for story time since we're driving and I've got all this footage from my last trip that we're not ever going to use, so maybe now's the time we can use some of it. I bought a new tent. And I bought a new tent because that blue Coleman with the darkroom technology had the 6-person. That broke. Basically, I was at Snow Canyon, Utah. First night there. Probably the best campsite in the whole park. And it's exposed, and we got blasted with some high wind. I think much higher than predicted. So high that it literally bent the aluminum pole, or one of them, in half completely, and it's just limp there. So I didn't really have anything to do a repair with me. I'm not sure I can repair the nature of that. And it's a cheap tent, so you kind of get what you pay for. It's not designed for high wind. So anyway, that trip was a failure. I ended up returning home. I basically was up for over 24 hours, a night of misery camping. But I persevered and made it through it, but I called my trip short. I kind of gave up at that point. Kind of regret that I did that, but didn't have anywhere to sleep. Didn't want to rush into buying something new. But it was a beautiful campground, I can tell you that, as you've probably seen some clips. But because of that, I bought a little bit more of an expensive tent I found on sale with a lower profile, and it's supposed to be able to handle the wind much better. Speaking of that, I think tomorrow is the day the forecast is calling for some pretty high wind, not unlike the forecast that I had at Snow Canyon, which ended up being worse, like I said. So I'm a little nervous about that, but I want to get things set up and staked in properly for this one, because I'm camping like right on this lake, and I can imagine the wind being pretty fierce. It's, if you don't have a lot of trees to break it up. Although I do think my campsite does have a couple trees, so we'll see that on this episode when we get there. That's where we're heading later. The other issue I'm going to need to contend with that I think I'm well prepared for is the cold. You wouldn't think it. It's mid-May here in southern Utah, but Bryce Canyon, a lot of people I don't think know this because it looks so deserty and dry, is actually a very cold spot, renowned for being cold. And here in mid-May, the forecast keeps getting colder. I think my first night there is supposed to be approaching the teens. It was like in the low 30s, then the upper 20s, and now it's creeping down. So I have a 3-season tent that I have not modified, and I bought a new sleeping bag rated for colder temperatures. And I brought my other one that's rated for like 30 degrees, plus blankets, plus thermal clothing, everything I need. But it'll, I wanted to get something I think that maybe has less ventilation or the ability to seal it up, because that Coleman tent was pretty much just open to the air and the elements, and that rain fly was all you really had to protect you, but the wind could go up and under it and blow dust in there. So I had it. Cool tent, but just not the best for the conditions I typically camp in. I just feel like pulling over and running through the grass. Maybe it's because I live in the desert, so it's the grass that I'm really reacting to, just seeing greenery. Could be as simple as that, but I think it's more than that. Been driving for a few miles. We're getting close to our turnoff for Route 12, about 7 miles away from that. You can kind of see all that orangey pink looking mountains there, cliffs, and I'm thinking that's the Bryce Canyon region, somewhere up and over that. I could drive 89 all day long. Love this route. It's very wide open over here and expansive, but once we turn on the 12, we'll be cutting over to all of the colorful stuff, so the wide open expansive views will change once again. Okay, we're coming up on Route 12 towards Bryce Canyon. We're going to overshoot Bryce, like I said, for today, but we'll be back in a couple days there. You're not really going to see any Bryce. Well, I keep saying we're not going to go to Bryce, but one of the stops is technically in Bryce, I think. So I should not say that.
Turn right onto Utah 12 East.
Utah 12 East. A road a lot of you probably know well, who have traveled here and checked this out. The Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument is this way also, where we're going basically.
Turn right onto Utah 12 East.
Turning right. Turning right. I'm going to turn.
Continue on Utah 12 East for 14 miles.
I'm turning. Look at all the cars. Oh my God, there's so many cars.
Continue on Utah 12 East for 14 miles.
It's all the people leaving, I think, for the day. The campers of last night. Bryce Canyon's only 14 miles away. Wow, just look at that. Isn't that something? I imagine seeing it from the car might be one of the best ways to do this. Are we leaving the Dixie National Forest? Are we re-entering it? Leaving it. So now we're getting really close to Bryce, like the main entrance, I should say. And then what we're doing is looking for this trail called the Mossy Cave Trail, right smack dab in the middle of the day. Worst time to go for lighting, even though we got some nice clouds today, and definitely the worst for crowds. I think it's a pretty popular stop. So we'll see, but it's been kind of quiet in a weird way too. See more people leaving than coming in. Maybe it's too cold for people to deal with. That's probably why I was able to get a reservation inside the national park, because usually that's impossible. You gotta get lucky. I actually was doing a drive-through of something called Red Canyon Campground. We'll be releasing like just a drive-through, no talking. I don't want to do a full episode unless I stay somewhere, but there is lots of vacancy there right now. I was very surprised, so I'm kind of disappointed that I, in a way, am staying 3 nights inside the national park, because I would have traded 1 or 2 of those maybe for a night or 2 in that place. It was beautiful, like all up in those red cliffs and stuff back there. Capitol Reef Park, National Park 119. I got a reservation inside Fruita Campground for like 4 nights later on in this summer, I think in July. I've been like on the hunt, trying to book time while I still feel like I'm gonna have time before I probably go back to the daily grind. So just a little preview. I'm gonna be in Utah a lot this summer at some pretty major places. Zion National Park is going to be another one. And the excitement about Zion is I've been there before. It's been years. Another really crowded Utah National Park, maybe the most crowded I've been to. And oh my God, the views are shutting me up immediately. I don't remember this, but we're kind of on the backside of Bryce Canyon. This is where I wish I had another camera on the roof right now to film, but you can see good enough, I think, to get what I'm talking about. I'll get back to that thought in a second, what I was gonna say about Zion and my plan. I've got a bucket list item of the highest magnitude, but one that I don't take lightly. Terrified of it. Some of you already know what I'm talking about, I bet, but maybe I will. Well, I think Mossy Cave is before Tropic, is it not? Yep, in 1.5 miles. So there's like this parking lot. I want to say it's in the national park. They'll probably have signs about a fee area. I have a national parks pass. Really cool hoodoos up there. And I don't think there's anything more to it than just going and doing this thing. I think it's only like a mile and a half total to see something called the Mossy Cave. I'm skeptical that it's like a real cave. Maybe it's another sandstone cave, but mossy makes me think there's water and moss growing in it. I've driven by it many times, just like everything on this trip today, and always pass it by because it looks too crowded. So, but even if it looks crowded today, I gotta do it. I have no choice. We're knocking this one off the list too. If it's really a cave, that's going to be awesome, though. I didn't think about that in my planning, but it's so appropriate for this episode. Wouldn't you say? Uh-oh, I see cars galore. Hopefully there's not a wait. This is what I dislike very much about places like this.
Turn right, then your destination will be on the right.
I'm just gonna go slow. Ooh, that is ugly. That is ugliness. I think there's people waiting for spots and stuff in here, so I'm gonna just pull in and we'll scout this out. I don't know. I don't want to be a jerk.
Your
I see a spot
destination is
that
on the
opened
right.
up, but I don't know what these people are doing, if they're waiting for it or not. Like, some of these people are being kind of obnoxiously silly at the moment and annoying. I get worked up when I'm in places like this because I don't like it. You know what? I would be second in line, but I don't know if people are coming or going. So we're gonna put this off. Unfortunately, you saw for yourself though. This is why I never stop at this one. But I am here at probably the worst time also. So there's that. If you come early, usually you're fine. And when I say early, when it's with national parks, early is like usually like 10 a.m. is when people really start coming out. Like, people don't venture out as much, but it's disappointing. We're gonna find an alternative though. And I saw the landscapes we're driving into here in the Escalante, so I mean, there's gonna be no shortage of things to check out. So I'm disappointed though because it had the word cave in it. That's really about it. I was gonna mention Zion. I have like 4 days booked there also in Watchman Campground, because I think South Campground's currently being fixed up or closed or something. But basically, so I'll be doing a campground review. Never stayed in Watchman. I've stayed in South Campground. Should be like about the same. And I'm gonna try to make the most of a Zion National Park trip, in the middle of summer, unfortunately. Once again, I think it's July also, late July. But I plan on doing Angel's Landing this year. On this trip, I want to do some hiking and start getting in shape so I can handle just not being too winded on precarious places. But that's one of my plans for this summer, and I may redo the Narrows and revisit that. That was one of our most popular videos early on. People still watch it. I don't know why. Out of all the choices you have, they watch that one, but I'd like to go back and do it in 4K. And now we're getting some really abrupt changes to the landscape. It looks very similar to, driving from Page to Kanab over here, the same kind of colored rocks and stuff that I saw, which makes sense because you are driving through part of the the Escalante National Monument at that part. Well, I think I'm going to be very happy with this region of our country because it seems to have everything that I love. The red rocks, the layered sandstone, the different colors, the stripes. Sandstone, I think, is my favorite stone. Although that may be too generic because there's so many different types, as I've learned, and it's really the stuff that holds the sand together that gives it its color, as I learned at Valley of Fire. So white sandstone is, I think, made of silica, and the red one, like the Navajo sandstone, has some kind of oxide in it. Now I don't remember that one, but something like that. But it's the stuff that holds it together that has the color. Ooh, I think going through this cut, I see some kind of big butte or some kind of reveal. There's going to be a lot of oohing and ahhing, isn't there? I think there is. So I don't really feel that bad about missing Mossy Cave because I think I underestimated what the rest of the drive will be like. And the clouds on the landscape, mwah, it's a painting. there's a brown sign which is probably directing me to Escalante Petrified Forest State Park. Heck yeah. There's little like cabins out here and
In
stuff.
a quarter mile, turn left onto Reservoir Road.
Like fancy ones. Did you see those? I wasn't paying attention to see if you could see it. I think you could. Very modern looking. Alright, my turn is here. Wide Hollow Reservoir and the Escalante
onto Reservoir
Petrified
Road.
State Park. Alrighty. Oh, there's cows down here. Registered Angus
Continue on
beef.
Reservoir Road for half a mile.
I might go cut me off a slice later. No, I'm just kidding. Well, friends, we got to the campground okay, and I had some technical difficulties with the other camera, and I filmed an outro and everything for our road trip today and reviewed the footage and had to get a different camera out. So hopefully this works. It's a good test anyway, to make sure it's going to be a viable solution for the rest of the trip. In fact, there was an overlook that I went to earlier that's I think where I started having problems with the focus on that camera, so I ended up having to scrap that footage. So I gypped you out of one little thing, it appears, on this episode, but I'm gonna take you down to this reservoir here close to sunset, late afternoon, here at the Escalante Petrified Forest State Park, and we'll say our goodbyes there. Actually feel the pier moving, and this new camera I'm using, it's not a new camera, but it's a setup I don't often use. It's heavy because it's a heavy camera with a heavy lens and a more heavy duty gimbal, and a mic and the whole setup, so I didn't really want to test it out on this trip impromptu style, but it's gonna have to do, so hopefully the quality's okay. Well, hopefully things weren't too disjointed because of my technical issues and maybe some unusable footage, but needless to say, we made it to the campground okay, and I really appreciate you going for this whole ride with me if you made it the whole way. It was an epic day, and I'm digging this area. This is really maybe my new thing. If you like this video, please subscribe if you already haven't, and certainly like the video, share with your friends, and come back next week for another video. See you then.